I'm so sorry. I don't know why.
Interesting.
What do you... Shh.
Shut up.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please be on good behavior this time, okay?
For sure.
Else's life.
Oh, to be more clear this time around, do you just want me to jump in when, like, you make a bad analogy or you start getting crazy or, like,
If you feel like I fuck up really hard or something, then you can... Yeah, I don't know. Just... A lot of these have been, like, really heated, so... Maybe you might not even need to say a single thing, because this person might just be perfectly fine. Okay? Okay, okay. Oof. Follow me on this one, okay? I'm going to construct an analogy. You tell me if this is totally disanalogous, you can throw it all out or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They seem nice like the serfs.
I think Lance means well, okay? I don't think he's, like, trying. I don't think Lance is this, like, evil manipulator that tries to get his whole community to be insane, okay?
Yeah, that was surprising, because he seems like an alright dude, but his community is a little hypey.
Well, I mean, isn't that true of, like, every online lefty? Well, and conservative, too, I guess. I don't know. I find that a lot of people let their communities wander off into uncomfortable directions without ever actually calling them out on it, because most people's communities are, like, safe havens for them, and they don't actually ever want to fight their community on anything.
Yeah. I mean, they may look at it as like a minefield of hills to die on, and unlike you, they don't want to make a stand on any of them.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I don't know how many community purges I've gone through at this point, but I mean, I want my community to resemble me, I guess, to some extent. So if that's where the lefty art came from, when I started to notice I was being followed by a lot of unironically communist people, which was really weird, but whatever. Booksmarks, did you see that you made Mike mauled pretty hard? Uh-oh. A Mike molding clip. Here we go. Damn it. Hold on, sorry.
Oh, cool. Okay, well then at least we agree on that, I guess. Awesome.
No, I've never once said, hey, I'm for the rights.
Why is this simp saying words? Why is the simp saying words? I thought he was a neutral moderator. Why is he saying awesome? Who cares about who the simp is? I'm not going to
promote that. Because I'm not a neutral moderator. I mean, that's kind of our bad. He's a dickhead, so I don't take too much stock in it.
Wait, Mike is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that controversial?
Just not very neutral of you.
Can I get a bitch chat?
No. I mean, he was bragging on Twitter about how he kicked your ass like 11 times in every conversation or something.
Yeah.
And I remember commenting on that. I think that's the extent of my interactions with him.
He's a funny guy. I like to laugh at, not laugh with, but...
It's one of the few times where your projection complaint, I think, may ring true.
I think it rings true way more than I thought. Maybe it's not good to voice that, but damn. But yeah, he's he really, really, really wants to debate me. But the thing was for a while I would challenge him to conversation because so much of what he said was so wrong. But like he was so confident, but so confidently stupid. And once it became more apparent that he was so wrong about so many things, he ducked out on combos. He would never talk to me. And then at some point he was like, Destiny, if you want to talk to me, because I'm a real political analyst, you need to donate me 200 subs, and then I'll consider it or whatever. And I was like, okay. But now that the tables have turned, there's like 2 massive donors that keep his stream alive, and he's like desperate for viewers, so he's been thirsting after me so hard. But now I'm telling him now he has to donate 200 subs. So there you go. Buck him.
That's not the way he spends his relationship with you. I did a panel review for somebody, and he was saying how the last conversation you guys had was one about Medicare for all, and essentially you couldn't come to grips with the fact that it doesn't make any sense to support like broad healthcare reform, whatever, but then not like the one thing that we can get passed and that everybody agrees on was kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, but the problem with people, like, the problem with Mike is that, like, Mike is an ideal version of an ideologue. He has no interest whatsoever in like actually discerning like, oh, what are people interested in? Because the polling data on like Medicare for all is like really complicated, right? Like depending on how you phrase the question, and then like there are different types of questions you can ask to find out how people feel about their healthcare. Like, I don't know. But he doesn't care about any of it. He just finds like the one poll that he thinks agrees with him, and then says, oh, everybody in the U.S. wants to be a socialist. Everybody in the U.S. loves this policy. Like, okay, dude.
Hey, Destiny. What's happening?
Oh, hey, holy shit. I thought, oh, what's up?
Yeah.
feel like the car analogy fit really well. Why don't you think?
Because like I'm judging that based on watching the chat. So I see a lot of people freak out when we're comparing cars to guns or car safety to gun safety. I know that sometimes this does work in other like kinds of debates, but I think for this one in particular, given the nature of the victims and what happened with the gunman, I
Sure,
just
I
think
feel
people
like
are less willing.
so I don't know if I feel like. Oh, I'd have to dig into these. I don't know if I feel like it's fair to say guns are explicitly for killing people and cars are explicitly for not killing people, and the laws preventing a minor from using a gun and a minor from using a car are totally different things. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I think that I can very clearly state that guns aren't explicitly used to kill people all the time because there's over 300 million firearms in the United States, and there's like 60,000 gun deaths a year. So clearly, like, every single gun isn't used to kill people all the time. In fact, the vast, vast, vast majority of firearms are not used to kill people in the United States, right?
It's just not an intuitive argument to
I
the
understand
people who the argument is.
Yeah, I understand it's not intuitive, but one of the big problems on a lot of the gun-related stuff is that it rests on people's intuitions, which generally come down to, have I ever seen a gun before in my life? So, for instance, if I was in Seattle and I was open carrying in Seattle, I feel like people would lose their fucking minds. Like a cop would probably come to me, or people would call the cops. People would be going crazy. But if I'm in like Council Bluffs in Iowa, if I'm in fucking parts of Omaha, if I'm in any part of like any state that I grew up in, no one would care. Like intuitively, they'd be like, yeah, whatever. So I feel like the idea that like if I grant you intuitively that guns are these hyper beast killing machines and cars are these just like innocent economic generators of prosperity, then I feel like I've kind of already lost the argument. Like at that point, like we're fucked.
You don't have to grant it. You just have to understand that that's like the framework they're working with, and then you have to like work around that. I don't think you have to explicitly point it out, but you have to either choose to start working some nuance into their position, understanding that, or something. But like dumping the car analogy on them, they'll just be confused because they do see one as like a murdering machine and not like something with a billion other uses.
But then if they want to see it as a murdering machine, I feel like they have to reconcile this cognitive dissonance in their mind where the law recognizes it's a horrible murdering machine and that's why it's preventing people from under 18 using it, but once you're 18 and older, the murder machine is fair game. Like how do you reconcile that in your mind?
Oh, hey, what's up, chat? Noah here. I just wanted to take a moment to say I don't have my notes with me, so I have no idea what we're talking about. 2 seconds. Ooh, sorry about that. I didn't have my notes. So, book from the future here. At the time of the recording, when I was speaking with Destiny, I didn't have a good chance to go through the conversation and do notes, so now that I'm in the future, I went back on the conversation and found a good answer to this question. The answer would be that she reconciles this with like the spirit of the law idea. So Riley essentially believes that if the government had no like constraints on it, they would probably get rid of guns entirely because they're objectively harmful. And she talks about that a lot, that the spirit of the law is actually like in favor of getting rid of it altogether, and that they're just simply restricted in how far they could take that, rather than having that allowed for everybody and just restricting that part of it. So I just wanted to make that bit clear here.
I don't think that they think too much about it, because when the people in the chat were responding to you saying that, they're saying, well, this is going to be the same problem for any age argument. Like, how do we determine when people can consent? How do we determine when people are okay to drive the car, or when people are okay to brew alcohol, or any of these other
Well, but
things?
that's,
So
yeah, but the purpose of the age arguments there is basically that, okay, well, this thing isn't necessarily always bad. We just think that you have to be like a certain age or maturity level to reach it.
Sure.
So,
and that's an arbitrary line.
Sure. So then if you reasonably believe that you have hit that maturity point, then maybe you feel like it doesn't apply to you. in the same way
You may,
that
but
yeah.
that's not persuasive to her that he didn't believe that the law should have applied to him.
But the
Like,
problem
I
is
didn't
it
understand how that worked
was
in your bigger argument to be.
because the problem was she was trying to get me on this. I'm not saying get you in a negative way, but she was trying to get me to admit that a reasonable person reading the law would agree with her. But clearly, I disagree with her. So, how do I combat her hypothetical reasonable person that, like, it disagrees with my hypothetical reasonable person? Like, I would never believe that a person reading a law saying somebody under the 18 shouldn't carry a firearm, if that person was like 17 years old in 11 months and 24 days, that person would be like, wow, this is a good law that needs to keep me from using a firearm. They'd probably think like, okay, yeah, this is probably mean like kids shouldn't fuck around with these because it's going to hurt somebody. Not that all firearms are bad and should never be handled, period. Like, I feel like that's like a way more reasonable reading of the law. I almost find it hard to believe that anybody would assume the prior and not the latter.
And if she did assume, like, the other way around, would it have made that big of a difference for your larger argument, or how did that fit in
because
there?
her entire argument was basically resting on the idea that Kyle read the law and the law put Kyle on notice that if he carries a firearm illegally, he is committing a moral wrong that increases the likelihood of great bodily harm or death. So that it all hinged on that, whether or not the law put Kyle on notice. That's why she said if Kyle was 18, she drops this entire argument.
Okay. I don't think she said if Kyle was 18, she'd.
Just to be clear, your argument is that if Kyle is 18, you'd totally drop all of this. That it literally could have been a 1 month or 1 week difference in age, and your argument on this would completely vanish, right?
Yeah. I don't want to give him a non-answer. The answer is yes, but just by virtue of the fact that the law would no longer be giving him that notice.
Drop the whole
She did.
argument.
She did.
Okay.
Yeah, she
Okay.
did. Yeah.
Because I thought I heard her say in passing that even if he was 18, I don't know if that necessarily.
She said twice. We can go back and listen to it if you want to watch
okay.
closely. Like she might have said there might have been other
I'll
problems that
believe
we
you.
should have had, but this was her main argument, and she said she would have dropped it if he was 18. She said that explicitly twice. Yeah.
And then, like, to be fair, and just to point it out to the chat, she was way closer to your opinion on a lot of different points compared to the other lefty people you've talked to. Like, she understands the second video. She's even iffy on the first one. She thinks there's a legal basis for self-defense. Like, I think she had a way more nuanced perspective than other people you've spoken to.
Well, yeah, she's basically coming at this completely from the legal realm, I think, almost, or it seems to be.
Yeah, at least her moral thing seems to hinge on that age law being the case.
Yeah, but like that's very morally unsatisfying to me. If the difference between right and wrong here could have theoretically been 12 hours, like I don't know.
Oh, can I appeal to you to not use rape analogies?
I feel like at some point I feel
they're-
like I have to use, because like the problem is that like when people look at this, they just see like a white nationalist 17-year-old like neo-Nazi murderer, and it's like, okay, well, let's talk about areas where self-defense can be a little bit more righteous, or at the very least I'm curious if they'll be more sympathetic to a self-defense argument that doesn't involve a neo-Nazi Hitler wannabe white Nazi, because that's like what people view this kid as. I'm like, okay, well, let's move this
Sure.
back into some other realm. And usually like sexual assault or rape is like, that's a very easy like, okay, well, are you consistent here? Because if you're not, if it makes you uncomfortable to say, well, if a girl goes into a bar underage and a guy tries to rape her and she kills the guy, is she in the wrong? I feel like it's a really hard bullet to bite. I feel like most people are like, okay, well, fuck, okay, even if she shouldn't have been in there, even if her going in there increases the chance of harm to her, even if she carries a gun illegally she's not supposed to have, I mean, if a guy tries to rape her and she kills him, I mean, the guy shouldn't have tried to rape her. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, that's horrible. Like, we wouldn't victim blame there when she defends herself, even if she wasn't supposed to be there. I feel like that's the argument that most people would give. And then I would give the same exact argument for Kyle, right? Maybe he shouldn't have had the fire. Maybe that's actually a wrong that we can all accept that he could. Maybe he shouldn't have broken the law. He shouldn't have had the fire. But that doesn't mean that what he did wasn't self-defense. It didn't mean that he didn't have a right to defend himself against the one guy in a fully justified manner. Like, yeah, I guess it's uncomfortable. I'm trying to appeal to some like moral side, but like when her argument is literally like, well, a reasonable person reading this law would agree with me. It's like, well, fuck me. Well, what am I supposed to say then?
So why I'm saying this is not necessarily that I think you have logical points that aren't fitting in, like the Banelings thing that people meme about in chat. Like, that was funny as fuck, and I think that was like a good time to use that. But I worry that a lot of the time when you use the rape analogy, people don't follow you at the logical level step by step through it. They're kind of taken aback by the fact that you're talking about rape. And it's almost like it takes like 5 to 10 seconds for them to even understand what it is you're talking about. And by that point, you've already lost like the entire chat, let alone the streamer. So that's what I'm talking about with the rape analogy thing.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
Like it just
No, rhetorically,
confuses
you're no,
people.
yeah, I understand. Rhetorically, you're correct. I get just it emotionally bothers me because if you're going to give a moral prescription, it should hold in all cases. And if you're uncomfortable holding it in another case, then clearly you don't have the conviction to hold your moral prescription. So that bothers me. But rhetorically, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people don't have the conviction to have an argument regarding like rape victims and whether or not they should
Yeah,
be,
because they're
you know,
uncomfortable
like,
where
so-
that leads them, I guess. But that, I guess that,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that it's just that's a personal shortcoming I need to deal with of myself. Yeah.
Well, I understand you're upset when people clip you out of context, but other people are much more frightful of like that thing happening. So they're generally looking to avoid those moments too. I've noticed that with a lot of careful people on the website.
Yeah, I understand. I guess yeah. I guess like in a vacuum, if I'm having an argument with somebody, extreme hypotheticals are a very quick and very easy way to test what somebody believes. Like when Amos tells me anybody of any age should be able to have sex with an adult, assuming that there's no bodily harm, and I ask him, okay, well, should a 2-year-old be able to have sex with a fucking adult? And he says yes. It's like, okay, well, now I know where we're at immediately. Whereas if he's uncomfortable with that, well, okay, well, now clearly what you said you don't mean, so now we have to take some time to figure out what principle you're actually appealing to, because you don't actually believe that one. So that's why I don't know. That's why I feel like but this works in an argumentative sense, but it doesn't work in a rhetorical sense, because rhetorically speaking, a lot of people will just be aghast, and then you kind of lose everybody there, I guess.
Yeah. If they're willing and able to follow you point by point, I think it can work wonderfully. Or if it's super clear, but if there's any lack of clarity, or you know, it's somebody that'll get taken aback, you know, they'll struggle with it. One thing that was interesting, hearing her conversation with the serfs, is the way that she pushes back on some of his ideas, and then contrasting that to the way that you do was interesting. Like when he was talking about how like, well, you know, the property over life's meme, she was like, oh,
Yeah. No, and I see that argument, right? I suppose that where I would come down on that is that I'm not sure if that's something that we would want to maintain in every circumstance, right? Like, let's say that we change the hypothetical around to where, you know, you have a home of a couple like black people, and there's a mob of KKK people coming at that person's house with guns and torches and whatnot. They're looking to lynch them.
Sure.
You know, I'm not sure if it's if people are necessarily morally in the wrong for, you know, gathering up their own weapons and whatnot and going to that house and defending and helping to defend that house and the people against the other parties, right? Now, I mean, like, you could draw a distinction probably between those two instances, but I think that basically captures the idea that, like, I don't think that we should necessarily prohibit other people from being able to help those who they may otherwise associate with, right? So that's basically like.
and I was like, okay, here we have an extreme thing cooked into the analogy.
Wait, but
and
I
it's the right
literally
one for
did
the
those.
serfs.
I literally did 2 of those with the serfs. Didn't I literally bring up the Tulsa race
the way
riots and
that-
the Korean people on the roofs? Wasn't it literally the exact same thing?
This is my rhetoric thing. So it's in the way that she makes that, in the way that she delivers that to him, and the way that she's framing it. There is no consequence to him if he agrees and changes that position or admits that it doesn't work in all circumstances. It doesn't mean he's wholly wrong. It doesn't mean he looks dumb. So she's kind of just set it up like that. So what I'm saying is, it's interesting to see how she approaches when she disagrees with him on something, or when she sees that he's not going to have consistency in his standards for the situation.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if we were having the same argument, I should have said something like, I agree with your take on breaking a law, but then defending yourself afterwards, but I think it would be good if an underage girl in a bar could defend herself from a rapist. Is that a good application?
In a more clever way, yeah, you could arrive at that, and then you can still use your crazy rape analogy if that's something you want to mention. You know, I don't know.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, I'll try harder.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
How was it compared to the last one? Was it annoying for me to hop in, or?
No, I think it's okay. It makes me look like I kind of have a caretaker, but I don't really give a fuck. That's fine.
Alrighty. Well, hopefully I get to talk to you again soon. Always a fun.
Yeah, no
Always a
problem.
fun time.
I'll talk to you later. See you later, buddy.
Bye, guys.
Bye. What a cringe fucking loser. That's the whitest guy we've ever had on stream before. Fuck him. And fuck books.